Hey everybody, it's Rick Janson, Rick the Realtor over at Denver Lifestyle Real Estate, eXp Realty, and I am thrilled to be here with Dr. Jason Glass, Superintendent at Jefferson County Schools, as part of our schools interview process where we're going around interviewing principals to give you the inside scoop on schools. We thought, let's go straight to the source. So here we are. Dr. Glass, can I call you Jason?
Be great, thanks.
Okay, so for those who aren't acquainted with you, give us a little history on how you got to Jeffco.
Yeah, I've been here in Jeffco for about a year and a half, but I've had a really wonderful career. I grew up in Kentucky. My mom and dad were teachers. I was a teacher there in eastern rural Kentucky. Moved to Colorado in about 2001. Had several posts with the Colorado Department of Education. Worked with a nonprofit called Qualistar that worked on early childhood education. I met my lovely wife Sarah in the metro area. We moved to the mountains to Eagle County. We were up there for about 3 years, and then we had a whirlwind tour of exciting places like Ohio and Iowa, but we really missed Colorado and had two kids while we were in Iowa. So we wanted them to grow up here and experience the life that is being a Colorado kid. So we came back. I was superintendent up in Eagle County, which is a community that includes Vail and Beaver Creek and that whole valley down through there. 4 wonderful years there, but then Jeffco opened up and there was some outreach from the community. Some folks reached out and said, hey, you should think about this. So Sarah and I talked about it and looked at Jeffco. We thought this would be a great place to live and raise a family, so we moved here about a year and a half ago.
Nice. Skiing's not as good, but you're enjoying it?
The skiing is not as good. I don't think we have any ski slopes, at least no official ski slopes in Jeffco. But it's a great community in that you get all the amenities of the city that come with being in the metro area, and wonderful towns and communities like Golden and Arvada and Edgewater. I mean, really trendy, fun places, great restaurants and places to go out and to live. We have wonderful schools, wonderful tradition of quality around education, and you're right on the edge of the mountain. So access to the open space, access to the trails, and from our house to Summit County is about 50 minutes, so that's pretty good too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a real estate perspective, all the places you mentioned, Golden and Wheat Ridge, Edgewater, those are all booming right now and have been because you do have the proximity to the foothills right here. Easy mountain biking, easy day hikes, take the dogs up. Super. So when you moved to Jeffco about a year and a half ago, what did you see as the challenges, or what were you told were the challenges that you needed to kind of address right away?
Yeah, this was really a community that had gone through a lot of political tumult. So we had one board elected in 2013 that was recalled in 2015, and a lot of national attention, a lot of national money poured into this community school board race to try and sort of control the direction of the schools.
National money?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it was called the $1 Million School Board Race. So that election in 2015, there was almost $1 million spent in advertising from the two sides, which is unheard of in a local school board race. So I really see my work here, at least initially, was to sort of bridge the divide and to say Republican, Democrat, Independent, and Jeffco is about a third of each of those. To say when it comes to education and our kids, it really should be a bipartisan or a nonpartisan issue. Everybody wants great things for their children.
Yeah.
And when you talk to liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, and you ask them what they want for their kids' future, you get a lot of the same things, the same visions, the same experiences. We have a lot of the same aspirations for our kids. So I really think that education in Jeffco is a place that we could show, in all the sort of acrimony and bitterness that's in the country, we can still work together, and we can still do great things as a community, especially when it comes to our kids.
Yeah. So you have to take all that into consideration. The principals are dialed in, hiring the teachers, trying to raise the kids, teach them. And you're trying to create an environment in which they can do that. Am I correct?
Right. Well, we put a lot of emphasis on the student experience. So there have been sort of waves of reform and different ideas around how we can improve education. I think all that's sort of interesting, but if you're not changing what the student is experiencing on a day-to-day basis, you're not really changing anything.
Okay.
So our focus is to think about the changing world that our kids are already in, and how those trends around automation, acceleration, globalization, competition, those things are only going to increase in their intensity as our kids leave our schools and go into the workforce. So we've got to think about how do we not just prepare kids with basic skills, reading, writing, math, which are still important, but how do we give them skills that they're going to need in this globally competitive workplace, like being able to stand and deliver or present or communicate or create something new, how to solve problems that don't have necessarily a right answer, how to use information from different sources, sift through that and decide what's important and then apply it. So our focus is really on the student experience and creating experiences that prepare our kids for their future.
And so you're looking at K through 12, right?
Absolutely,
you run the whole
pre-K
thing.
through 12,
Pre-K through 12.
and even birth through 12 here in Jeffco. You have to think about the whole continuum. How do we create a robust system of early childhood support, be that in school district programs or federal programs or nonprofit churches, private providers, family, friends, and neighbors, a whole network of early childhood education that serves our families. So all of that, can we lift the capacity and improve the quality of that? And then when kids come into our school system, how do we make sure that we've got a quality, caring education professional that works with them, and that we're creating those experiences for the student where they're engaged, they're excited about what they're learning. This is the most exciting time to be a learner ever. I mean, the access to information, the ability to connect with other people has never been greater than where it is right now. So we want to capture that excitement, bring it into classrooms, and give our kids the experiences doing the same kinds of complex, interesting, authentic, exciting work that they're going to do when they leave our schools.
That's fascinating. So what does the day-to-day of Jason Glass look like? I mean, you're not teaching kids. Are you hiring principals? Are you doing community outreach? What does that look like for you? Because you've got to bridge this divide.
Yeah, a lot of those things that you mentioned. So I have a great job. I love what I do. I'm excited every morning to get up and do this. And I'm a parent here too. Sarah and I have 2 kids that are in Jeffco Public Schools, and they're getting a great education. So we love raising our family in this community. But my job it involves working with the Board of Education, making sure they're informed. They're my elected officials here, and so they answer to their constituents. And so I need to provide them information on things that are going on and where we're headed and where we are. So a lot of work around that. Right now is budget season, so we're looking at dollars coming in, what we have, thinking about how we can allocate that in the best way to serve our families. We have a number of really interesting initiatives underway right now. We've just finished an online enrollment system that we called Enroll Jeffco. It's a great system for parents where they can go in and bring up schools that are in their neighborhoods, but also schools that are maybe geographically close to them, or schools that have programming that they're interested in. They can read about each individual school, the philosophy, the approaches used within that, and then learn a lot about those. And then next year, we just finished this currently, but they'll be able to apply through that system and make that whole process of enrolling in school's one-stop shop through this Enroll Jeffco system. And Jeffco,
that's ambitious. Sounds awesome.
It offers this. Enroll Jeffco has this really robust system of choices where you can compare and learn about different schools. And Jeffco has an amazing variety of different school options within our neighborhood schools, within our option schools, and within our charter schools. And all of them have a variety of different programming, from sort of traditional approaches, core knowledge approaches, classical academy approaches, to things that are neighborhood school in nature, so it's just a good neighborhood school, to things that are more experiential in nature, like Montessori models, or Waldorf schools, or expeditionary learning, international baccalaureate programs. So there's this wonderful diversity of school types available for parents at Jeffco.
That is a lot to wrap your head around every day.
Yeah. Well, what we think a lot about, there are all these different sort of philosophies around education that range from sort of more traditional approaches to more experiential approaches. And regardless of what that is, if you go down to what the student is experiencing on a day-to-day basis, you want that student to engage in the same kind of complex work that they're going to have to do when they leave our schools. And that's true if it's a kindergartner or if it's a senior. So we want kids, while they're learning, reading, writing, mathematics, science, all those things, they also have the chance to design something. They have to have a chance to work with others, that they have the chance to persevere through adaptations, like where you give them an assignment or a task, and then the rules shift halfway through.
Okay.
Because that's like life.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to create those kinds of experiences, regardless of what kind of school, what label, or what instructional philosophy. When you get down to what the student is experiencing, that's the subatomic level, and that's where the magic happens. So we've got to make that a meaningful and exciting experience for our kids.
So let's dive into that enrollment system a little bit, because every school has a district. But sometimes when I'm working with clients and we're out buying a house, it's very difficult for the parent, unless the realtor is really knowledgeable, to know what school district they're in. But you're finding the same thing from a school district standpoint. Is like, we need to know what school we're enrolling in. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So with that Enroll Jeffco system, which we've just launched this year, it really is going to make researching and learning about different neighborhoods and schools much easier than it used to be. Without that system, you were sort of searching online, or you're driving from school to school, or you're trying to talk to people in the neighborhood about what the school's philosophy and how they're doing. You're trying to research the state website around test scores or other performance metrics. So we're working all that into sort of a one-stop shop where you can, if there's a home that a person or a family is interested in, you can put in the address of that school. It will bring up the schools that are geographically in proximity
around
to
that house.
Around that house, right? So what school do they have guaranteed enrollment into? That's their neighborhood school. Yeah. And what's the philosophy, educational approach being used at that school? And what are some programs before school, after school programs that may be offered? Other specialized sort of science, technology, engineering, math experiences the school may offer. So the parent can research that. And they also have the ability to sort of say, I'm looking for international baccalaureate, or I'm looking for expeditionary learning, or I'm looking for a STEM focused school. And it will bring up a list of all those schools that offer that kind of programming as well. So I think it's going to be a great resource for parents who are interested in moving to Jeffco, trying to learn about the schools that are in their neighborhood, to go on there and research that.
And so, when people are looking for a home, too often they go on Zillow or Realtor, which aren't necessarily the best places to go. When they're looking for schools, I find they often go to greatschools.org, and that may or may not be the best place to go. What's your advice to a parent that's new to Jeffco, and they say, hey, I need to research the schools because I'm really, I'm moving here from Missouri, I'm moving here from Texas, Chicago, California. How do I know? Apart from the school's self-description, how does someone research a school?
I think we've got to look at a deeper level than just a test score. So if you are looking at grade schools or other sort of school rating systems that are out there, frequently they're using only standardized test scores as their evaluation of the school. Standardized test scores are highly correlated with the wealth of the students and the families that attend the school. So you've got to look deeper. So a school may be serving kids from more diverse backgrounds, and their test scores may be lower because of that, because they get kids that have further to go in terms of reaching higher performance on test scores. So I would say the test scores are important. Test scores matter. They measure something important, but it's really a narrow sliver of what we want for our kids. I mean, we want our kids to be able to read, write, do math, understand scientific principles. We also want them to be good citizens. We want them to be ethical people. We want them to be able to work together. We want them to be respectful. And you only really get at that qualitative stuff unless you learn more deeply around the schools, about the school's philosophy and what's happening there. So I would encourage our parents, once they sort of narrow in, here are some of the neighborhoods we're interested in, to learn much more about the qualitative aspects of the school and move beyond just the test scores. Again, the test scores are important.
Right.
They matter, but they're certainly not the only thing. It's a narrow sliver of what we want for kids.
And so how do you go about, analyzing something qualitative, right?
Yeah.
If it's subjective, if it's not sort of measurable.
Yeah.
What's your advice to a parent who comes in here, they're watching this video, they're like, really love the philosophy that you're expressing right here. How do I dive in?
That, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of a filtering or a narrowing process. So you think about the neighborhoods that make sense for you as a parent in terms of price or neighborhood amenities, narrow it down to that. And then there are going to be schools in that area. So you can look at the test scores as one way to sort of evaluate which schools are performing higher and lower. But you should also look at those test scores through that lens of what are some of the demographics of the students that are going to that school. For example, you may be looking at a school that has mediocre or lower test scores, but half of the kids in the school are English language learners because it's a dual language focused school. So even though the test scores may be lower, if you're a English speaking family, your kid's going to go through that school and emerge fluent in Spanish and English.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing amenity that you won't just get if you only look at the test score. So I think you look at the neighborhoods, you do look at the qualitative data, and then you can use a system like Enroll Jeffco to learn more about instructional philosophy, programs that are offered. And once you really narrow it down to a couple, I would say go visit, talk to the principal, walk through, see some classrooms, get to know the staff that's there, so you really get a feel firsthand for what the culture and climate of the building is. So that would be my approach to parents, is really take this sort of filtering or narrowing approach from neighborhood to looking at quantitative data to looking at qualitative data, and then making your own personal judgments on what's best for your family.
Yeah, and I found we have a 3, 5, and 6-year-old. You have a 5 and 6-year-old. I found that when we were researching for kindergarten, that walking into school and feeling, is this home for the next 5 years, 6 years for my child, is really, you can't beat that.
Right.
Once you do, like you said, you go through the funnel. That walk in, that it's kind of like walking into a home. It either feels like home or it doesn't.
Right.
And the school is really the same way. It either feels like home or it doesn't.
Right.
And I think that's great advice. What are your challenges right now? You said you have this political thing you dove into at this expensive school board. Now here we are in 2019. We're looking forward to the full year ahead of us. What's on your docket?
Well, thanks to our voters last fall, we approved a mill levy override and a bond. So what those two things are going to do is allow us to increase the compensation for our employees, so we're going to be able to hang on to our teachers and pay our staff better. We're going to be able to add significant mental health supports, significantly expand our career technical education options, improve our school safety and security, mental health supports, and expand our early childhood education options. So we're so grateful for our voters. So
That's
all
huge.
of these
Yeah.
services are going to be available starting next year for families in Jeffco.
I think it's refreshing for voters to hear that that's where the money's actually
That's
going.
right, yeah.
That it was pitched that way, and here it is. It's really going to that. That's fantastic.
We wrote into the ballot that none of those funds would be used for senior district administration, so I won't get a penny of this, and that's okay, because it's going to the folks that are serving the kids most closely, and that's where it should go. We also passed a bond question, and so we're going to see major renovations and improvements in our school buildings across Jeffco over the next 6 years. We're starting and putting a lot of emphasis in our older high schools, so we're going to see a renaissance in schools like Green Mountain High School or Columbine High School or Pomona High School or Alameda. We're going to transform those places into the kinds of buildings that our community and our kids deserve. I'm incredibly excited about that, and we're just going to be able to have these beautiful temples for learning for our kids, which is exciting.
That is very exciting. Yeah. So do you spend a lot of your day then interviewing principals, talking to architects, attending committee meetings? What does that look like for you?
All of it, yeah. So the district the size of Jeffco, we have 155 schools and 165 sites. Some of our schools have more than one campus they operate on. So there's a certain level of sort of turnover, retirements, resignations that happen in principals. So I'm the sort of final say in who we hire as principal, but the community is really involved in that process, and the staff is before I weigh in. So we allow them to really choose the principal that's right for their school. And then all of those community engagement meetings, which I think is really important. Even last night, I was out till 8:30 last night at a community meeting, just answering questions and having conversation with our parents and what their aspirations were for their kids, what they want out of their school district. I mean, we have an obligation as the public school system to serve every child in the community. And part of that is listening to what our community's values are, what they want, and then shifting what we do to match what our community says are priorities for them. So the only way we do that is by listening and getting out and talking to people.
Yeah. So when you say serving every student, it brings to mind, you have gifted and talented, you have typical kids, but then you also, increasingly in the news, you hear about mental health issues, you hear about security, and also just there's, I think, a greater ability now to identify kids with special needs, just through, testing in utero and therapies and whatnot. So you have a whole range of special needs kids as well. And within 155 schools, there's a lot of that coming up.
Right.
So how do you structure that, or what's a philosophy that you employ to guide the principals when they're making their decisions?
Yeah, we have students with all kinds of individual needs, and those, as you mentioned, range from gifted and talented to having a disability of some kind. And then you have kids that are kind of on the edges of that, right? They may not qualify as gifted or qualify as having a disability, but they have some struggles or talents that we have to make accommodations for or support that student individually. And you also have kids that have both. You have a kid that is gifted and also has some kind of disability. We call those kids twice exceptional.
Yeah.
So every one of them has to have sort of an individualized plan around how we support them. You mentioned safety and security, and I want to touch on that for a second. It is a major concern in Jeffco. Of course, we are the district that includes Columbine High School. We also have had 2 other school shootings in the history of the district. So we take school security incredibly seriously. We've invested a great deal into physical safety for our buildings, making sure that the buildings are secure. We've invested millions of dollars into school security personnel, millions of dollars into mental health supports, and I think have one of the most robust systems of being responsive and proactive when it comes to school safety anywhere in the country. I'm incredibly proud of it. And we have wonderful relationships with our law enforcement partners. So we take school security so seriously, especially in this day and age. And Jeffco schools are some of the safest places that you can have a kid.
Yeah, and I've experienced that in this creating this series of principal interviews. I've toured a lot of schools already, and yeah, the security is top notch, and the police force in the community has a really good bond with the campus. You can tell that, and they care about it, and they love it, and everybody loves that they're there. They love being there, and having that community relationship, I think, is really nice.
Yeah, and we have those wonderful relationships with law enforcement, and through the ballot question 5A and 5B, the mill levy override and the bond that was passed last year, we're going to be able to even expand and improve on the really quality systems that are here. So we have a nationally recognized school safety team here that is frequently brought in for consultation in other districts around the country that are thinking about this and trying to improve their services, or in the instance of heaven forbid, there's been an incident of school violence, we also are frequently brought in to consult with sort of how to improve and move beyond that.
Yeah. So we put a lot on your plate. You're supervising, spending millions of dollars and hiring people and raising kids for us. What can you put back on the parents? So take a load off of Jason's shoulders here for a second. How can parents help their kids? How can parents help their schools to create a better environment or to create a more robust school system?
Right. A couple of things come to mind. One is to demand quality for your student. Parents that demand quality for their kid get it. And so I always encourage all of our parents, if there's something that is that they don't think is right, if they don't think that their student is being served well, they need to stand up and say something. That helps us. We embrace and appreciate people that bring criticisms, concerns, problems, because it gives us a chance to get better.
Yeah.
And if oftentimes if we don't know about those things or know about the struggle, we're not able to get better. So I always encourage parents to stand up and push for quality for your kid across the board. That's really important. The other thing that I think is really important is whatever school you end up at, work like heck to support it. Be involved, be present, find ways to support the teachers, find ways to support the school. And sometimes people will go immediately to that's dollars, right? Checks. Yes, sometimes it is supporting the PTA or PTO at the school, but even more so, it's being present as a parent, it's being supportive and connected and communicating with your child's teacher, being involved in community events, showing up at things. I mean, it's just important that our parents support the school. There's this reciprocity between the school and the community, and they support each other, and it really works well when the school is supporting the community and the community is supporting the school. That there is that synergy between the two.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't covered here that you want people to know that is kind of on your heart? They're like, wow, I wish Rick had asked about this.
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about a lot of great aspects of Jeffco Public Schools, but I just want to say that Jeffco is a great place to raise a family. When our family moved here, we were living in Eagle County. We were happy. It was a great place to live, a wonderful community. But we really wanted to come to Jeffco to raise our kids here. So as a testament of the sort of professional leading the district and a parent here. This is just a great community to raise a family, and we have great schools here. And I just want to share everything that they're doing, but they'll have to go online, enroll Jeffco, and learn about that.
Enroll Jeffco. All right, that's a good takeaway too. And yeah, Jefferson County is a great place to live. I want to thank you, Dr. Jason Glass, for giving us this wonderful insight. And folks, one of the things you can't really feel just because this is digital when you're watching this is his heart for the school, his heart. I mean, I can just feel the emotion right here. He really cares. He really believes in what he's doing. And man, if you're going to have someone leading the 155 schools, this is the guy you want on board. So thank you very much for your time, energy. I wouldn't say that if I didn't truly mean it, but it's been an honor to sit here and pick your brain for a little bit and just learn about what the vision is for this school district. I think it's fascinating and exciting.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, appreciate it. Bye, everybody.